The Haunting of Route 66. The open road has always held an allure of freedom, a place where travelers can escape, explore, and find adventure. But some roads hold darker secrets, where the echoes of the past never fade. Route 66, once known as the Main Street of America, is no stranger to stories of mystery and tragedy. A stretch of it through the barren Arizona desert harbors something more sinister, something waiting for the right family to come along. The Morris family, Michael, his wife Jessica, and their two children, Emily and Liam, had set off on a road trip down the famous Route 66, hoping to create lasting memories. It was a family tradition, and Michael, excited to show his children the wonders of the road, insisted they take the long scenic route through Arizona's desert. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over the vast emptiness, Michael noticed the needle of the gas gauge dangerously close to empty. "We need to stop soon," he muttered, glancing nervously at the dashboard. The desert stretched out infinitely in all directions, devoid of life. Emily, the older of the two children, leaned forward from the back seat, wide-eyed with curiosity. "There's a gas station just up ahead," Jessica said, pointing to a sign partially hidden in the shadow of a crumbling rock formation. It looked old, too old to still be functional, but with the tank almost dry, they had no choice. The wind howled as they pulled off the highway onto a dusty gravel road leading to a dilapidated gas station, its neon sign flickering weakly. The air seemed thicker here, the atmosphere oppressive, as though the desert itself was holding its breath. "Stay here, kids. We'll check it out," Michael said, grabbing a flashlight from the glove compartment. Jessica stepped out with him, their footsteps crunching on the dry gravel. The door to the gas station creaked open with an unsettling groan as they pushed their way inside. The dim, flickering lights inside cast long, eerie shadows. Shelves stood covered in dust, and the air smelled of decay. "Hello? Anyone here?" Michael called out, but there was no answer, just the eerie stillness. Suddenly, Jessica felt a chill race up her spine. She turned sharply, but no one was there. Just as they were about to give up and leave, a deep, raspy voice came from behind the counter. An old man, bent and grizzled, appeared as if from nowhere. "Y'all shouldn't be out here this time of night," he muttered, his eyes glazed over as though he was seeing something else entirely. "This road ain't safe after dark." Michael forced a smile. "We just need some gas. We're running low." The old man shook his head slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Ain't no gas here. Best get back on the road, and don't stop till you reach the next town. Don't look back." Michael exchanged a confused look with Jessica, but before they could ask any more questions, the man turned and disappeared into the back room without another word. Back in the car, tension hung thick in the air. As they continued down Route 66, the last rays of sunlight faded, and a cold darkness enveloped the desert. They passed the time with nervous small talk, but something felt wrong, an uneasy feeling that crawled beneath their skin. That's when Liam spoke up from the back seat. "Dad, who's that walking by the road?" Michael's heart skipped a beat. "What are you talking about, son?" Liam pointed out the window. "There, look! Someone's following us." Michael glanced in the rearview mirror. His breath caught in his throat. Through the faint red glow of the taillights, he saw them. Figures. Shadowy silhouettes, barely visible but undeniably there, walking alongside the road, keeping pace with the car. "There's no one there, sweetheart," Jessica said, her voice trembling slightly, but when she turned around, her face paled. She saw them too. Michael gripped the steering wheel tighter. "It's just a trick of the light," he said, more to convince himself than anyone else. But the figures grew clearer with each passing mile. Some walked, their heads bent low, others seemed to drift across the desert like phantoms. Their faces were obscured, but their forms were unmistakable. Men, women, and children, dressed in tattered, old-fashioned clothes, looking as though they had stepped out of another time. panic began to bubble up in Michael's chest. He pressed harder on the accelerator, but no matter how fast they drove, the figures kept pace, always just at the edge of the darkness. The radio crackled with static, and the headlights began to flicker. "What's happening?" Jessica whispered, clutching Emily's hand tightly. Suddenly, a sharp bang echoed through the car, and the steering wheel jerked violently to the left. Michael fought to keep control, but the car veered off the road and came to a grinding halt in the dirt. "No, no, no!" Michael shouted, slamming his hands on the dashboard. The desert around them was eerily quiet. The shadowy figures were gone, replaced by an overwhelming silence. Jessica glanced out the window, her breath fogging the glass. In the distance, a faint glow appeared, flickering like firelight. "We can't stay here. Let's go see what that is," she said, her voice shaking. Reluctantly, Michael grabbed the flashlight again, and the family stepped out into the cold desert night. As they walked towards the distant light, they began to hear faint whispers carried on the wind. The light grew brighter, and the sound of crackling flames filled the air. When they reached the source, what they saw froze them in place. A car, an old, rusted sedan, sat burning on the side of the road, though the flames were cold and blue. Around it stood the ghostly figures, their faces now visible, twisted in pain, their eyes hollow and black. They weren't just watching, they were waiting. Suddenly, the old man's voice echoed in Michael's mind. "Don't look back." But it was too late. One of the figures, a young girl with hollow eyes, stepped forward. Her voice, barely a whisper, pierced the silence. "We never made it out," she said, "and neither will you." A scream tore through the night as the family ran back toward the car, but the apparitions closed in. As they reached the vehicle, the ghosts surrounded them, their faces distorted by agony and despair. The temperature dropped, frost forming on the windows as ghostly hands pressed against the glass. Michael fumbled with the keys, his fingers shaking as he tried to start the engine. The apparitions grew closer, their forms becoming more tangible, more real. Suddenly, one of the windows shattered, and the cold, decaying hand of one of the spirits reached in. With a desperate scream, Michael finally turned the key. The car roared to life, and they sped off into the night. But as they looked back, they could still see the figures, watching from the side of the road. Silent, eternal. They never stopped running, never stopped driving, until they reached the next town at dawn. But no matter how far they went, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that the road wasn't finished with them. Because deep down, they knew that once you drive Route 66 at night, you never truly leave. Epilogue. The old man at the gas station stared down the empty road. A cold wind blew through the desert, and he sighed deeply, his eyes distant. "Another family," he whispered to himself. "They never listen." And somewhere out on Route 66, the ghosts of the lost travelers continue their endless journey, waiting for their next victims. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. And be sure to click the bell icon so you never miss an update.